Jen.
Oh God, are we just?
Your LinkedIn posts are so dramatic. It's like I feel like you could turn a grocery list into a TED talk. It's like,
Come
oh my gosh, it's so
on.
thoughtful. It's not that fucking serious, Jen. We're
Give
selling
me
software,
an
right?
example. Give
Chill
me an
out.
example. Give me an example.
Okay, I'm gonna open up LinkedIn right now. Remember when LinkedIn didn't track impressions? None of us spent a single second thinking about how many people saw our posts. We thought about how many thoughtful conversations happened in the comments. Pace. TED Talk. How many new, meaningful connections it drove? How many DMs it initiated? In my opinion, I think the introduction of the impressions metric is what changed LinkedIn for the worse.
Do you disagree? Do you disagree with me?
If you
Do
agree.
you disagree with me?
I will say, Will, that was a very close impression, but your posture was insane.
Yeah, well, what do you want me to do? The camera doesn't point at the ceiling, Rayna. All right.
You were curved.
Thinks
I'm a
that's
tall
what I
man.
look like.
You were
Just because I'm
curved.
tall, I just crawl around stages.
Yeah, Jen's
and-
tall as well. Just like walking through the door frames like this.
I'm so short, I gotta use every inch of my spine available.
Yeah, shut up, shorty. All right, okay. Don't be having to go at us because you're vertically challenged, unlike Jen and I.
You're like one statement away from getting canceled.
That's generous.
Today's competition is a good one. You are both sales trainers in your own right, but which one of you is the better sales trainer? Today, one person will decide. So you're gonna meet Close's lovely and brilliant senior account executive, Kate Petrone. You'll both be given the same video sales call from Kate. And now, she's a known badass seller at Close, but this is a recent call that she thought went well, but the prospect ended up ghosting. So she'd love to learn what you think she could have done different. And remember, the two of you, at the end of these competitions, we're either going to be donating to some dogs or some more salespeople. So up to you two to make that decision. Let's go ahead and watch Kate's sales call, and we'll get your coaching feedback, and we'll see what people are actually paying you for.
Spicy. Did you write
I
that?
felt like it had a little sting to it, Jen. What do you think?
Oh.
So how did you feel about the feedback that you gave Kate? Like, what was your approach and all of that?
I hated every minute of it, frankly. Jen, I'm curious to hear what you think, because I think you've got a
You
better...
hated her call, or you hated coaching?
You've got a lot higher EQ than I do. I'll give you a compliment right there. Coaching is a very intimate thing, you know? To give someone feedback, it comes better when it's from someone you trust, know. At least, you know, in the coaching sessions that I do with one-on-one with reps, I often get to know them a little bit better, break the ice, make sure I know where they're open to, what they really want to focus on, so I don't talk about things that aren't important to them. That was really challenging, doing that for someone I haven't met and who doesn't know me. And frankly, I feel Kate was really brave for even being open to this in the first place. That was my first thought. I was like, oh wow, having two randos just comment on my work. Oh, like, good on her. Focus on one thing if you're going to focus on something. So that's kind of where I tried to take it as well. The last thing I would say is I wanted to make sure there was something there that Kate could actually do versus wallow in critique. So I made sure to give like, okay, overall things you might be able to still do for this deal. I'm kind of glad you didn't do that.
Well, now you have one compliment and I have one compliment for you, so we can be done with complimenting each other.
Yeah, fuck you. See, now I'm taking, now it's us on the other end. Jen, now we're being coached in our coaching. This is how it felt for Kate. Oh my gosh.
I mean, Will, if you wanted to know what it was like having you as a coach, a boss, a mentor, you could have just asked me.
I wasn't even trying. I wasn't even trying with you, Rayna. You don't need coaching. You're already perfect, okay?
Hey Will, hey Jen, nice to unofficially meet you. I just wanted to share a quick video to say thanks again for the feedback on my recent sales call. You both took the time to provide honest, constructive, non-judgmental, and empathetic feedback, which I greatly appreciate. It's not easy being super vulnerable, but I can tell you've both been in my shoes before and really both had some great pieces of advice, so thank you for that. I thought it would be fun to do a little spin-off of this, sort of a feedback inception, and give you feedback on the feedback you left me on the sales call, and then I'm actually going to score each of you individually and see who comes add on top. So Jen, what I loved your approach to the call. I love how you broke it into 3 different parts. So that structure made things super digestible. Your delivery was also very warm and empathetic, which I really appreciated. So it made it easy to absorb the feedback without feeling defensive or critical at all. So it really felt like you were on my side. I could tell that you've been in my shoes before and done this before. So what helped me the most, I loved how you pointed out the difference in the inbound versus outbound mindset, that I shouldn't just be an order taker. I feel like this is something I constantly struggle to balance, especially in an inbound role. Just finding the balance between getting folks what they need in order to make a decision if close is the right fit, while also still maintaining control of the call. So I feel like a lot of times they're looking to us almost as product experts. So I love that tactic to sort of approach the call as a product expert and bring new ideas that they may not have thought of before to the call, as a way to like take back control if I feel like I'm getting in the weeds, which I feel like I did a couple times during that call. So that's really helpful. And then where I would have loved to see you go a little bit deeper on the call. So on the topic of lack of urgency, I love that you flagged that and picked up on that in the call, which was great. But I would have loved your thoughts on how I could have handled that live. So what could I have said to bring some momentum back? I love the idea of calling out the elephant in the room, but like, how do I get sort of that sense of urgency? Overall, it was really solid feedback. Again, you brought some really great points to the table and gave me some really good tactics that I can use on future sales calls. So I'm going to rate it a solid B. So thank you again for that. Now, Will, over to you. So what I loved, I really appreciated how strategic and practical your feedback was. I love the way that you broke the call down into 4 different parts, similar to Jen, but you did the opening, discovery, demo, and then close. I think breaking it down that way allowed me to see where I started to lose control of the call. And then you also picked up on the same strengths that Jen did, like active listening, but added more tactical ideas that I feel like I could put into my next calls right away. What helped me the most, you gave me real usable tactics. So telling me to pause the screen share and flip questions back when I feel like I'm losing control. I love that sort of break in visualization. I think that would be a really great moment to sort of take a step back and reassess. Also love when we get to pricing, you had a really great idea about like asking, once you sort of, frame the conversation to say, this is what we recommend based on what your needs are. How does that compare to what you're paying with HubSpot? So we can really actually see what that gap is. My favorite thing that you mentioned or tactic that you recommended was just simply like for a deal that's sort of losing momentum, put a calendar invite on their calendar and just see if they're going to be, moving forward. So I did that in this case. I actually put a calendar invite on his calendar for tomorrow. So we'll see if he shows up. I'll keep you posted. But I love that. It really feels like a way to get back into the driver's seat, especially since he mentioned like end of May. Let's hold him to that. Let's see if we can move this deal forward at this point and just put the meeting on the calendar and, go from there basically. So where I would have loved to see a little bit more, I think when it comes to assumptions about deal readiness, I would have liked to hear a little bit more on how I could have kept that deal warm. Like if I did put a calendar invite on his calendar, he didn't show up, how would you approach the deal from there? Would you consider it lost? Would you continue to try to advance that deal? Like what are your thoughts? What are some tactics I could use when it comes to just like a ghosted deal too? Because that's sort of what's happening in this case. So overall score, I'm going to give you an A, which means the winner is Will. So this was a really tough one. Honestly, I took a lot back from both of these calls. So it was a really tough decision, but I think in the end, the tactical suggestions and the strategic lens and the way you made your coaching actionable just edged it out a bit. I really appreciate you both taking the time to provide feedback. Jen, your emotional intelligence and just clarity were top notch. So I honestly feel like I walked away better thanks to both of you. Again, I appreciate you both taking the time. Great to unofficially meet you. And I hope that our paths cross again in the future. Thanks again.
Well, she is just the sweetest.
Team Kate. Oh, Kate. Champion.
I mean, listening to her feedback, I knew I was losing it. I was like, damn it.
Ultimately, he's not just on the board anymore. He's equalized. He's equalized. So beyond Kate just being an amazing sport, obviously you and I doing some great job here. I just want to say, he's back. He's back.
This is well-deserved. This is well-deserved. I will give you your credit as much as I want to talk trash to you right now. You clearly outperform me. I can take a loss, unlike some people on the screen.
Maybe consider using a hyphen like a normal person,
You're
right? You have to
every
hold down a
marker.
key on a phone. You have to hold down a key for like 2 seconds and then select the M dash.
I'll take it. I'll take it with pride. I will learn from what you did well, and I will apply it in the future.
And I feel good that my win was earned as well. So
What does that mean?
nothing. It's not like the AI human thing was like a complete coin toss or anything like that. I'm just saying.
That is such a low road. You're taking the low road. We were on the high road, and now
Shall we play rock paper scissors again? That's a hugely skill focused game. If you want to really equalize again or get a lead.
Deal.
What is up, Kate? My name is Will, if you don't know who I am or even aware of me. I just want to start off by saying good on you for being open to having two complete strangers provide coaching, feedback on one of your calls. Like, being open to coaching it's tough sometimes, especially when it's not someone you know. And on that note, I don't know exactly how you like to take feedback, what type of coaching is the most helpful for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share the observations I saw watching back this call, and hopefully there's something in there that's helpful. You can take everything with a pinch of salt. I've never sold clothes before. This is just from an outsider's perspective. There's nuances I probably don't understand. Overall notes, number one, I want to say you have incredible active listening skills. Like the fact you're willing to ask a question and then just shh. There were a few times where you asked a question, there was like a good 3, 4, 5 second pause. A lot of sellers like to jump in there and feel that silence because it's uncomfortable, right? There was sometimes where this guy was talking and he stopped and you just sat back and let that silence ride, and he carried on and told us more, right? So first of all, kudos on that side of thing. I want to also compliment the fact that you have really good, you seem really informed on this space, on your solution, on other solutions like HubSpot, and you just have a very good executive type of presence on a call as well. And then finally, it also sounds like he's probably looking to a couple other solutions. You probably picked up on that as well. He said, oh, we were looking at you or deciding who we're going to go with. And then at the end, he said, I want to compare this to a couple other solutions as well. Really good opening. I like the fact you skipped all the small talk. Definitely mirrored James' style. I don't know if that's like you do every single time, but I like how you just get straight to business. That's my personal style as well. As for the things that I think could have been a little bit better in the opening, there is a question here, which I'll just highlight for a second. Not everyone likes setting agendas. I like to level set and just say, hey, just to make sure we're on the same page. The purpose of this course is to really figure out how you're doing this, then see if we can help, and then figure out if it makes sense to keep chatting. I think that just helps us keep us aligned. It might be worthwhile adding that to your talk track, but either way, your question kind of did that. 4 questions in one. I think the questions we ask, the more clear we can be, the better. So compound questions often end up getting us like compound responses. They often just end up responding to one of the 4 questions we ask. So it was like insight into your business, problems with HubSpot, ideal solution, and what led you to start looking into this. So I think, all right, let's start there. You said things aren't going as well as they could be with HubSpot. Tell me more about that. That could be a great way to launch us into the call and save some time on this stuff where he starts giving us unnecessary background information that you probably already know. My second favorite question, you're about to ask my first favorite question of the whole call. You asked for clarification. You said, I'd like to dig deeper into that manual side of things. What do you mean by that? Clarifying that was awesome because he was very vague. So by getting to clarify, he gets very specific on what he actually means by that. And this is the most important problem to him. Obviously, it's the one he mentioned up front. So he's saying basically the biggest challenge is that they're not filling up the forms, the fields in HubSpot. And that's the challenge. First favorite question is this next one. What is the reason? I love that question because this starts to tease us into like, sure, things aren't being filled out. What's the reason that's important to you? Because that leads you on to something that's a real business case at that point, right? So great question there. So then we get into the demo section of the call. The challenge that I found when you got into the demo portion, I could find a few examples, is he started peppering you with questions. And something that one of my old managers told me that stuck with me for a long time is the person who is asking the questions during the call is the one who has control of the call. And there's a point where it kind of flips almost the moment you start sharing your screen, where he's the only one asking questions. And there's a few questions he asks, like, oh, how about task management and sequences that weren't mentioned before? And I don't think we really understand why he's asking those. I think there was a great opportunity to dig deeper. Oh, you're talking about task and sequences. Like, I'm happy to show you what that looks like. How do you manage that today? So I feel like that was worth drilling into to understand what the need was there that was driving his curiosity into how those things look and work. I think the best thing you can do in those is sometimes just, oh, you mentioned sequences before, maybe even kill your screen to make sure it's clear that you want to understand that. You're not just going to show it to him right away. We haven't spoken about that piece yet. How are you doing that today? What does that look like? What's the problem with that? Is that something you're struggling with? Figuring out that piece before we give answers all the time. Just throwing a question back to him so that way you maintain some control and obviously learn some more information about why is looking into this. Ideally something that you can sell to as well. Super brave for having 2 complete strangers jump in and review one of your sales calls. It feels like a very personal thing to do to someone I don't know, but it's been great getting to know you over the past 33 minutes. Awesome call. Keep it up. And if you have any questions about any of this feedback, I'm happy to clarify anything. I'll send over the doc with some notes as well, just so you can read that, just in case you don't want to look at my face anymore. If not though, keep it real. Hopefully we'll get to chat properly soon.
Kate, I just finished listening to your call. I'm a big believer that good coaching comes in 3. So I'm going to give you 3 things I really love that you did and 3 things to work on for next time. So let's start with the good. Number 1, you are a phenomenal active listener. You didn't interrupt him once. You let him complete his thoughts. You picked up on really small cues of things he said, and then you didn't let it just float by. You went back and revisited it. Number 2, I think you got into the conversation in less than 60 seconds. I personally am a huge fan of this. I think sometimes we do excessive report building for our own security and our own confidence. If I think about it, like someone who's going from meeting to meeting, this person was traveling a ton, they probably just want us to get to the damn point. So I like that you didn't do any weird small talk about the weather or things like that. The other thing I really liked that you did in the open is that you gave him confidence to know that you read his request. Again, seems minor, but a lot of times sellers will show up and say, all right, so tell me why you're here. What you did that I loved is you said, it sounds like you're trying to do this, and this is why you're here at the call today. And then you gave the floor to him to kind of correct it. So I really liked how quickly you got into the conversation versus doing, rain talk. And then number 3, you asked some really great why questions. So one of the examples I wrote down was he was talking about one of his motivations was for sellers to stop manually filling out CRM fields. A lot of sellers would probably just fly by that and say, okay, cool, that's a problem. The time it takes to spend filling out, CRM fields. Instead, you sought to understand why. You sought to understand how much time on average. And I think you got to something really interesting, which was it's actually not a matter of how much they're spending on filling out CRM fields because they're not doing it at all. And that opened the door to a much more significant problem. You wouldn't have gotten to that if you had just settled for the first answer he gave you. So I really liked your use of very thoughtful why questions when you heard things that were incomplete in your mind. Moving to the 3 areas of constructive feedback, things I think you can work on for next time. I am personally a big believer in treating inbound really no different than I treat outbound. And what I mean by that specifically is I think sometimes with inbound, we give over, I hate to say control, because I don't think we should ever be trying to control prospects, but we end up putting ourselves in the shoes of kind of like a recipient. Like, I'm here to answer your questions. What is it you've come here today to learn? And then it can be really difficult, I think, to pivot the conversation if the prospect comes in at a much lower elevation than we'd like, or they're asking like really, really small nuanced or not nuanced product questions. And we really need to get to a higher level of pain to understand if this is even a problem worth solving or if this is just a looky-loo. So one way you could do that is in your open, like I said, I loved your open. It was short, it was punchy, but you could add something to the effect of like, hey, when I saw this come in, I took a minute to look at the business. I actually have a couple other clients that are similar in regards to this, and this. So maybe it's the fact that they are about to get seed funding. Maybe it's the fact that they're less than 10 employees. Whatever you think that would draw a parallel to typical problems that others see that are similar, I would kind of draw upon and say, so I have a couple ideas for you, but before we get to that, I'd love to understand what prompted you to come to the call today. So I think that does a couple things. One, it shows that you have ideas, not just like product, answers for them, but it also allows you, as I noted before, to pivot the call if the call kind of goes into a little rabbit hole, which I think at some points it did. So it allows you to lift back up and say, I had a couple ideas. Is it okay if we take a few minutes and I can share those? Because I think they're in line with some of the things I hear you trying to achieve. Second thing is, I mentioned this, and this is something you did really well, which is you asked great why questions. I think when you do a good job of that, it opens the door to reframe how they're thinking about a problem. So I think that was the door to a much larger problem than he ended up gravitating to, which is like, do you have this feature or should we stick with HubSpot for this? And so what I would have loved to have seen you do there is then take a little bit more ownership of that conversation and say, okay, so it sounds like the larger problem isn't necessarily the time it's taking reps to input things manually. It's actually about how do we make sure these conversations don't go to waste because we know X% of our previous conversations convert into revenue. Have you looked at that? Do you know if there's a conversion number? Or can we talk about some other things that would help you in that pursuit of getting to a finer segmentation of that list? Okay, and number 3, I think towards the end of the call, there were some elephant in the room things he said. So one of them I wrote down was like, we're not dying with HubSpot, right? And this was something he said later. So he started the conversation by being like, hey, we'd like to move off HubSpot. And then towards the end, he's like, well, we're not dying on HubSpot. And that was screaming like there just isn't urgency in his mind of the need to change. I think might burn an opportunity to do a high value trial because they're not in the right headspace for it. So instead, I think if you think about what was being asked of them, maybe it would have been a different kind of next step if you had gone back to that higher problem elevation and we could have said, let's take a look at how we're approaching, re-engagement campaigns today or how we might do that without information like this. And then I think you can move into a trial conversation if you get buy-in that this is a problem worth solving. So those are my 3 things to work on. But again, I just want to say beyond everything else, your ability to do great active listening and ask why questions conversations got you to a place where I could see those opportunities. If you hadn't done those things, I would have probably struggled to give you good feedback. So well done. This job is hard and I'm rooting on you. I don't see any reason this couldn't be a win-back conversation.